So how rigorous is the diet that you're recommending? You know, for many people, I've talked about. I mean, I've been a vegetarian since I was 17 years old, so I've had this conversation with a lot of people. And one of my kids has been a vegan for well over a decade, and Louise and I have been more or less since for about 3 years since she had breast cancer, and which was a real wake up for us. And we thought we had a great healthy diet, but I think all that cheese got us. And so, how rigorous does one have to be? I mean, is it a matter of cutting your meat by 50%? Is it a matter and dairy products and things like that, or does it really have to go to zero?
It's not all or nothing. It's not black or white. These studies show that even so-called flexitarians or people who are so-called semi-vegetarians, those that are cutting down on meat or practice what's called a pro-vegetarian dietary pattern, which is just people that increase their consumption of plant-based foods, decrease their consumption of animal foods, actually have a survival advantage, actually live years longer than those that don't. And so this shows that you can accrue benefits, significant benefits, any step along the way towards healthy eating. It doesn't matter what you eat on your birthday or on holidays. It's the day-to-day stuff that adds up. And on a day-to-day basis, the more we can add these whole healthy plant foods into our diet and kind of both for their nutritional benefits and to crowd out less healthy options, the better.
Which is worse, meat or dairy?
Well, it depends what kind of meat, depends what kind of dairy. So processed meat is now considered a Class 1 carcinogen by the IARC, the official World Health Organization that classifies carcinogens, placing it in the same category as asbestos and cigarette smoke. Yet this is what we're feeding our children in our school system. So processed meats, we're talking about lunch meats and bologna and chicken nuggets and turkey slices. Class 1 carcinogen. I was just at the CDC this week and talking about them. Why is this still being allowed in the schools? Why aren't they coming out with advisories telling people about this? Well, it's very politically unpalatable to eat less messaging. Eat more messaging, they're down with. More fruits and vegetables, that's fine. But when you say eat less of something, then you're coming up against these powerful industries. Class 1 carcinogen, processed meat is probably the worst thing we can eat now that trans fats are slowly being moved out of the food system. But of course, dairy is the #1 source of saturated fat in the country. It's actually not beef. So I encourage people to reduce their intake of meat, eggs, dairy, and this processed junk food, and again, get more of these whole plant foods in their diet. In fact, that's one of the first things I do with patients is I just tell them to add more foods. I want them to eat the salad. I want them to eat this much fruit. And it just kind of pushes out, it kind of, crowds out some of the less healthy options as a way to slowly get their palate to change. Right. And in a few weeks, of cutting salt out of someone's diet, their palate changes such that the soup that they liked initially is too salty. They actually prefer lower salt foods. And so people have this sense that it's deprivation. How could you live like I could never, go life without another pepperoni pizza? But you don't realize, no, your taste buds change. You actually enjoy that sweet potato. You actually enjoy healthy, natural foods. Taste good. If after a bowl of Fruit Loops you eat the ripest peach in the world, it would taste sour. But you go a few weeks without this hyper salty, hyper fatty, hyper sugary palate that the processed food industry has all entrained us on. All of a sudden, healthy foods actually taste good. I mean, and so it's kind of the best of both worlds. Wait a second, tastes good and I get to live longer. That's what plant-based eating is all about.
Yeah.